What documents are needed from the person who is sponsoring anyone to visit the United States?
Any U.S. citizen, or legal resident of the United States, who is sponsoring his relatives or friends to visit the United States, needs to send these important documents to the person whom he is sponsoring. These documents will serve as evidence, to show to the U.S. Consulate when the non-resident alien, apply for a visitor visa in the U.S. Embassy or Consulate. First is the letter of invitation. This is a personal letter of invitation from the sponsor, sent to the person he or she is sponsoring to visit the United States. Next is the sponsor's identification. This includes the sponsor's original birth certificate and driver's license. Then show proof of relationship. If sponsoring in-laws, send copies of the spouse birth certificate, showing connections. If sponsoring relatives of the sponsor's spouse, send photocopies of the marriage certificate and spouse birth certificate, anything that'll show the relationship. Number 4 is the Form I-134, Affidavit of Support. This form needs to be completed and signed by the sponsor. You can download the latest Affidavit of Support form from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website. Number 5 is the employment letter. This is a signed statement from the sponsor's employer, that states the date and nature of the sponsor's employment, salary paid, and whether the position is temporary or permanent. If the sponsor is self-employed, a copy of his or her business permit may be enough. The sponsor can also send copies of the last 3 years of his tax returns. Recent pay stubs of the sponsor can be submitted as proof of employment. Submit copies of the latest 3 or 4 pay stubs. If the sponsor is self-employed, this is not necessary. However, self-employed sponsors still need to show proof of income tax return and financial records. Number 7 is a letter from sponsor's bank. This is a signed letter from a bank officer stating the date when the bank account was opened, the total amount deposited for the past year, and the present balance of such account. Number 8 is the sponsor's bank statements for the last 6 months, to show financial strength. While there is no official limit or set rules for a minimum balance requirement, it is important to show proof of funds. Number 9, copy of sponsor's income tax documents. These includes copies of the last 3 years of income tax documents, and W-2s. Next is the proof of legal status in the United States. If the sponsor is a legal resident in the United States, send a front and back copies of the permanent resident card. If the sponsor is a U.S. citizen, send a copy of the U.S. passport ID page, or a copy of the sponsor's U.S. naturalization certificate. And finally, a letter to the U.S. Consulate from the sponsor. This letter should be addressed to the U.S. Embassy, or Consulate, that the U.S. visa applicant is visiting.
In summary, here are the documents needed from the visa sponsor. If you find this video helpful, please hit thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.